Hello, this is Lisa. Thank you for stopping by today. In this video, I will be cutting full-size A2 or invitation-size cards from a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. It's possible to get two full-size or true A2 invitation-size cards from one piece of 12 by 12 cardstock. Now you do have other options if you can be a little more flexible on the size. If you'd like to see some different variations of what you can do, go ahead and click on the video link here to see my other video. In this video, I am making full-size A2 or invitation-size cards. This is typical of the envelopes I can get locally that go with this size card. They're called invitation envelopes, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. It's only possible to cut two true or full-size invitation cards from a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. There's a big strip of paper left over. What I do is make small business size cards for casual use. These cards can be used in number 6 3/4 envelopes, readily available at any big box store. If you're interested in finding out more about these kind of cards and how to cut them, I have another video that describes how to make small business size cards. In this video, my true goal is to cut two full-size invitation size cards from a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock. So to make the cuts, I'm going to use the directions that I make on this cutting guide, and I'm going to do the cuts in this order: cut 1, cut 2, and cut 3. Pretty much what I'm going to do is cut my 12 by 12 piece down to an 8 1/2 by 11 paper. And then from the 8 1/2 by 11 paper, I'll be making my two full-size A2 cards. Now once you get down to the 8 1/2 by 11 size, there's actually two different kinds of full-size invitation cards you can make. If you'd like to see a couple variations, go ahead and see the video I already have up on the two ways that you can cut full-size invitation cards from the 8 1/2 by 11 paper. So you can follow along on my cutting guide if you would like, and I will be using the Cloud cardstock from Creative Memories. Okay, cut 1 is to make the 12 by 12 paper into a 12-inch by 8 1/2 inch wide piece of paper. So my first cut will be on my trimmer, and I'll be using the markings over here: 7 inches, 8 inches, 8 1/2 inches. So my piece of paper will line up with the 8 1/2 inch mark and the top of the paper guide on the trimmer. And now I have two pieces of paper. This is 8 1/2 by 12. This is 3 1/2 by 12. Go ahead and set aside your 3 1/2 by 12 for later, and we'll continue working on this piece. I want this to be a standard 8 1/2 by 11 paper, so I'm going to take an inch off the 12-inch side to make it 11 inches long. Go ahead and put it back in my trimmer. And I know that this right-hand side of my trimmer is a 1-inch side. This area right here is 1 inch. So I'm lining it up with the edge of my trimmer, and I'm making my cut. Now this is just a scrap to set aside. Well, I now have an 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper, and I can show you this went through my printer, standard laser printer, and they're exactly the same size. Well, at this point you need to decide what kind of full-size invitation cards you want. Now this video is geared to making portrait size, what I'm calling portrait. I think these are the most popular, but it's also possible to make a landscape version of the card from the same 8 1/2 by 11 paper. So go ahead and make your choice, and if you need to see them again, check this video link. I am going to make portrait size cards. So I am going to cut my 8 1/2 by 11 paper on the 11-inch side, and I'm going to cut at 5 1/2 inches, which is halfway across the paper. I can tell I cut this side already, so I'm going to use the pre-manufactured side. Put it into my trimmer, and the edge of the paper is at 5 1/2 inches. So now I have one card, two cards, and of course I have my strip of paper left over and that original 3.5 by 12-inch strip. To score my cards, I really like my Martha Stewart scoring board. Got it at Michael's. It's great if you like to make a lot of cards. And the board comes with its own foam folder. Well, I'm going to score the portrait size invitation cards first. And I like to put the 8.5-inch side on the top, and I score at 4 1/4 because 4 1/4 plus 4 1/4 is 8.5. So I usually like to score it twice. I'm sure once is plenty. But I usually do it twice, and then I use both of these sides of the board to help me line up the edges when I fold. And usually that gives me a wonderful result. So I'll go ahead and do the last portrait size card that I made. Again, I put the 8.5-inch side on top and I score it 4 1/4. And then I fold it right on the board. So now I've made my 2 full-size invitation cards for my 12 by 12 paper. I still have a strip left that I can make a small business size card with. It's 12 inches by 3.5. So normally I put it on my scoring board like this, and I score at 6 inches. Now a 6-inch size width is great because a number 6 3/4 envelope is really 6.5 inches wide. And here's an example of the standard small business size cards. And you can see this wonderful little card ready to go on a whim fits perfectly inside these envelopes. So it can be something fast and fun you can send a friend. Well, that's my fun and easy way to cut true full-size invitation cards from a piece of 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. Well, thank you for joining me. Good luck on your card project. Have a wonderful day.